You know, when we're at the grocery store, we might think about animal welfare, maybe the environmental impact of our food. But there's a huge part of the story we rarely, if ever, hear. The story of the people working on the factory floor. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the profound and often invisible human cost of the meat we eat.
To really get a handle on this human cost, we have to start right where the work happens. The sheer speed and scale of these places, well, it sets the stage for everything else that follows. Just let that number sink in for a second. Hundreds of animals, every single hour. And we're not talking about a brief rush hour. This is the relentless, non-stop pace that workers have to keep up for their entire shift. It's an unbelievable level of physical demand, and it's the foundation for the immense pressure these workers are under.
But as tough as that is on the body, the physical toll is really just the beginning. The deeper damage, the kind you can't see, is psychological. It's an invisible injury that workers carry home with them day in and day out.
This brings us to a really specific term you need to know: perpetration-induced traumatic stress, or PITS for short. It's basically a form of PTSD that happens when your job forces you, over and over, to do something that fundamentally goes against your moral code. In this case, that act is killing, and it creates a really deep psychological wound.
So what does PITS actually look like in a person's life? We're talking about some really severe stuff: recurring nightmares, deep depression, a crushing sense of guilt, and just chronic, crippling anxiety. This is so much more than just job stress. It's the direct psychological fallout from the work itself.
And if you look at the numbers, the picture gets even clearer. The rate of depression and anxiety disorders among slaughterhouse workers is just dramatically higher than it is for the rest of us. This isn't about a few people having a hard time. It points to a systemic mental health crisis that's baked into the industry.
Now, that kind of deep personal trauma, it doesn't just stay inside a person's head. It doesn't just stay within the walls of their home. It inevitably spills over. And it starts to affect families and even whole communities, creating a ripple effect with real costs for everyone.
I mean, think about it. What happens when a huge portion of a town's workforce is bringing that level of trauma home with them every single night? Well, the consequences start showing up on a much bigger scale. And the impact is, well, it's pretty stark. Studies in areas with these large-scale slaughterhouses have found a really disturbing link: a measurable jump in community-wide problems like domestic violence and other violent crimes. The stress of the job doesn't just stay at the job.
Okay, so all of this leads to a pretty logical question, right? If the work is so physically and psychologically damaging, why don't people just leave? The reality for so many of these workers is that leaving just isn't an option. They are, for all intents and purposes, trapped.
And here's why. You can see how this systemic trap works. It starts with low pay and really dangerous working conditions. That tends to attract the most vulnerable workers. Very often, we're talking about migrants who have few legal protections. Then you factor in that these plants are usually built in rural areas where there just aren't any other jobs. And here's the final lock on the cage. Many of these workers don't even qualify for unemployment, so quitting means total financial disaster for their family. There's just no easy way out. So, when you put all these pieces of the puzzle together, the intense physical pressure, the deep psychological trauma, the impact on the community, and this systemic trap that keeps people there, you realize you're looking at a side of our food system that is almost completely hidden from our view.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? In all the public debates we have about meat, from animal rights to the environment, the actual human cost, the toll it takes on the workers themselves, is almost never part of the conversation. It's a massive blind spot.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty challenging question. The next time you're in a store and you see the price of meat on a package, it's worth asking yourself, what is the true cost here? Are we just talking about the dollars and cents on the sticker? Or does that price also include the invisible human price being paid by the people who brought it to our table?